I love how it. Hello and welcome to the Reds Report. Proud to be part of the TalkSport Fans Network. We're a bit like a pick and mix of three, but tonight, I tell you, we've got top class, 5-star Michelin rated. And we've got Ian back with us. Ian, how are you doing, mate?
I'm very well, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Listen, it feels a bit strange. 2 away matches, 1 clean sheet, 4 points. Before we go into those matches, do you look at that and think, well, look at where they are? I mean, the Rotherham one fed off 3-1, but like the Port Vale, do you look and think we should have, or do you put it in perspective and think, well, actually, they did decently against Peterborough, a clean sheet and a point. I mean, it's a step closer, isn't it, to mathematical safety, I suppose?
Yeah. Yes, Saturday, Rotherham were poor. They were really poor. And I thought first half it was pretty much 2 poor teams, to be honest.
Yeah.
But we were just that bit better, and I think once we got the goal, we settled down. But it's always nice to win away, whether you're beating teams at the bottom or who it is. But Port Vale was disappointing in that, you have a penalty saved, you have some chances near the end to win it. They are poor, probably will go down, even though fair play to them, they're making a fight of it. But then when you look, they played a game 48 hours later and beat Peterborough, and you think, oh, maybe it wasn't such a bad. It's funny how the spin can look quite different, can't it? 48 hours later, when they're playing a game so soon and can beat a team like Peterborough. So I think it's something to build on. It'd have been nice to have got 6 though, wouldn't it? And they should have got 6 points out of them too.
I looked at the lineup on Saturday. So you're away at Rotherham. We know the trouble they were in, and obviously you got Goodman in goal. Corey O'Keefe came back. Mal de Javigny, who's obviously with his bandage playing, he was part of the central midfield with Owen O'Donnell, and Josh Earl was back. The midfield, I have to be honest, I looked at it, thought, because it's Vimal Yoganathan and Jonathan Bland, and then Phillips, Kelly, and Scott Banks. With Tom Bradshaw playing the lone role. So obviously no Conors, Ditzy wasn't there. In the defence, I think Mal de Javigny, listen, football, and I say it every episode, it's a matter of opinions, but I have an extra little bit of confidence when he's playing, because he puts, he leaves everything on the pitch. They've all got a mistake in him. But I looked at it and I thought, but actually, I think tactically he got it spot on against a team that really, really, struggled to get goals, that were down in the slumps. Tactically, besides 3 points on the pitch, do you think that's a win for Jorge as well, who come under a bit of criticism for its tactics and his selection lately?
I think so, yeah. There was a good balance about the team. I agree. I think Earl coming back, yes, most of the defenders, and Earl included, really, they've all got a bit of a rick in them at some point in the game, but he does bring a little bit more calmness and that experience. You're right with Dijivane. He is one of the better defenders, central defenders we've got. Gives his all, and I thought he was one of our best players. I know Phillips probably gets the plaudits for what he did more up at the other end of the pitch, but Dijivane did well. And I thought we've mentioned it, haven't we, in the week, that 3 in midfield that you mentioned, I just think that is your midfield pretty much for next season. I think Conors playing them, because we know what the financial situation is probably going to look like. I think Connor will probably go. I think Cleary will go. And I'd like to see Banks stay. I don't know whether he will, but I think them three in the engine room, as they call it, he's playing them now to make them turn into men, because they're going to have to play a 50, 60 game season or whatever, 50 odd games in a season next season. And, 2-3 games a week. I think he's playing them now. Otherwise, I don't think he would. I think he'd be certainly not Yogi Nathan, because I think he can be a bit lightweight. That's your three for next season. I think that's your three, and he's playing them now because I don't think there's going to be any money for any experienced midfielders to come in.
No.
Well, yeah, I think you got it right. Bradshaw worked his socks off again, deserved his goals. Phillips had a real influence on the game. Banks did well. And once they rolled that, we looked a bit dodgy at times in the first half, but we settled into it. And second half, there was only going to be one winner. What I would say is, when you're saying about like Conor getting pelters, and he has got a lot online, and I'm not defending him. There, sometimes he plays square pegs in round holes, especially fullbacks. And I know some of his substitutions haven't worked. But I've always felt this season, especially when I've gone to a lot of away games, the match going away fans generally are behind him. And although, don't get me wrong, there's some sarcastic chants about, how bad would me, the fact that we were winning away.
Oh, that must you be, we're winning away.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. But I've never felt, and I know I've probably not been to as many at Oakwell, but I don't feel like the match-going fan has turned, like, when they turned against Neil Collins at Burton that year, and they really were singing about his football being shit, and I don't feel like the fan base, okay, then we're not mega happy, but I don't think they've turned. And I know, it can be easy when you win a game that everyone goes home happy, but even at Bolton away and places like that where they were dreadful for one half, Huddersfield away when they were poor for the second half, I don't think he's lost the fan base, the match-going fan base as much. I know people might slate me for saying that, but I think the people who I've been sat around, I think, are still genuinely want him to do well and want him to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, my stance has been throughout the season that I think if you look at, first you have to say, has it gone wrong? What was the ambition? We looked at the wages and everything else. If we finish 11th, 10th, would you have taken that at the beginning of the season, knowing that halfway through the season you lose your top striker? Listen, it is what it is. I think it is threefold. I think the board, you just want somebody to come out, not with a statement from John Flatman about next year. It's going to be in there. You just need a statement. Well, what is the ambition for this club? That's the first thing. And there hasn't been much clarity around that. But I think the board have got a part to play that. I get the losing money. Come out and tell us. We're Barnsley people. And if they say this is the way we're going at the moment, it's costing us £3 million a year, and in 3 years we might have not the money to subsidise the club, maybe, so I get that. I think part of it's on Conor. I think sometimes, because he's a new manager, he maybe really wanted it to work, so he sticks with the player a little bit longer or tries him in a different role, and that's not always worked. But I also think we have players, and I'll be honest, the senior players that I think have underperformed a lot of the time. Greek international Philippis, who played the other night, wasn't very. The other afternoon, wasn't it? He wasn't. He's been hot and cold. That's why he's not always been in the starting lineup. I think the captain, Luke O'Connell. How different will things be if? And he's not that old, is he? When he first came, and the promise he had, and that season he had, like, you look and you think, wow, and you knew whenever he had the ball, he wanted to go full, and it's just not there. So I think it's three ways. The blame.
It is. I completely agree. I mean, all the clubs have brought their accounts out, haven't they, for last year? And I was listening to a podcast about the Championship, and clubs are losing anything between 5 and 20 million a year, depending on which club. And even Oxford lost something like nearly 20 million last year. I mean, how are they going to sustain that? And you'd be a football owner, but at the same time, the board don't do themselves any favours either. And with the communication. You're right. You know, Conors, this is his first gig. This is his first job. That doesn't mean we let him off for everything, but it's his first job. He's not an experienced manager, and he's going to make mistakes. And we just hope that he can learn from some of them. I admit, you know, I've said it a couple of minutes ago, some of the things that he's done that hasn't been great. But you look at the players, you look at Goodman. Goodman's come in and had a shocker. You look at, and I don't know whose decision that was to bring him in and get rid of Murphy Cooper. I don't know, but he's took a long time to settle in. You look at, you said Phillips. Connell probably hasn't played anywhere near the dizzy heights that he did when he first come. He's been up and down, you know, gives away silly yellow cards and stuff like that. And I wonder whether he's going to go. Cleary's body language is very poor, you know, on his day. I was there at Bradford when he scored that 70-yarder. You know, he can be a world beater. But I'm not being funny. Sometimes, like at Bolton away, he was a disgrace with his body language. Just didn't want to know. So there's a lot of players. Everybody's at fault, aren't they? You know, there's not one great big, you know, thing that you could say point to that. We've been fortunate generally that we've not had too many massive injuries. I mean, I know Didsy's just got this hamstring, but how he's survived all season.
Roberts early on in the season, wasn't he?
But we've got a few centre halves, haven't we? But I think we're quite fortunate. We generally tend to play the same players, don't we, week in, week out. And had we lost some more to longer term injuries, we've been screwed because the squad's paper thin. So there's blame right across the board, isn't there? There really is blame right across the board.
Yeah, I mean the Rotherham match, the Port Vale match, which we sort of spoke about anyway. I think especially the last 15, 20 minutes, we probably did everything right that we could have done. We just couldn't get over the line. What's going to be interesting tomorrow then, if he sticks with that team, how it is, because Bradford got about it all completely the opposite way, haven't they? They've got him very rather than that they've very much gone for the experience. So it'd be interesting how. When you mention, like, you know, the midfielders that we've been playing, so you talk about a Bland, you talk about a younger Nathan, you talk about sort of like a Kelly in you know, that little diamond in the centre, how they're going to do against a club that's, you know, that's up there. And I'm not saying it's boys against men, but age-wise, you know, it probably is, isn't it?
Well, unless he brings Connell back in, he's had a little break, hasn't he? But it's whether it breaks up that what they're just gelling as a three.
Yeah. And that's and I suppose he in a way he can't win, can he? Because if he brings Connell on tomorrow and Connell makes a single mistake and it costs us a goal, why the bloody hell did he bring him back? If he don't bring him on tomorrow and Jonathan Bland has an absolute stinker and he waits till the 60th minute to take him off, why didn't you start it? Yeah. Because that's armchair football fans, isn't it? You know what I mean?
It is, yeah.
I mean, we mentioned some players there, but out of permanent contracts. This year, Adam Phillips, Mal de Javigny, Russell, who's obviously out on loan anyway, Mark Roberts, Tanai Watson, Jack Shepherd, Barry Cotter, David McGoldrick, Max Wattis, but obviously he's out on loan, Andy Dallas. I mean, I don't think we've ever seen him in a Barnsley shirt, and if we have, keep hold of it, because it'll be worth somebody at some point, because I think it's the only one. I mean, that's a long list, isn't it? And you could argue that Phillips, de Javigny, Roberts maybe not, but Watson, Shepherd, Cotter clearly went out as well. You know, that's a lot of experience there, isn't it? I get the way we're going, but are they all a big loss?
It's going to take some massive churn of squad, isn't it? Again, that's the problem. I don't see them all going. I don't think anybody's really come sniffing around Phillips, have they?
No.
It's whether he wants to stay or wants to move. But he's never nobody's ever really come in with any proper bids, despite all the talk of him being touted by Championship clubs. I think Watson will probably go. I think they'd like to keep Shepherd. He was talking him up. I read in the Conor, and his press conference was really talking him up and just said he's going for a bit of a blip in the season, which every player goes through. And I think he's got he raves about his attitude in training and everything. So I think those names that you've read out, a few of them will stay and a few of them will go. But I can just see this massive churn of staff again that they're gonna, like, Cotter's long gone, Dallas and Waters just need getting off the books, don't they?
Yeah.
But then you've got to find the players to come in.
Well, sorry, but of course, besides them, the loan players we've got: Goodman, Ugbeta, Banks, Chirewa, sorry, from Wolves. I mean, he was injured, came back. Although he's back within it, I don't know if he'll feature. And Tom Bradshaw, of course. So
yeah,
you know, you sort of look and think,
out of that lot. I mean, unless I don't know. I can only probably. I'd like to see Banks stay. Out of that lot, I can't see too many of them. They'll be gone, won't they? They'll just go and unless maybe Bradshaw, possibly Bradshaw, given his age, he might. If offer him a contract, he might stay.
I think Bradshaw and Banks to me are the two that I think
the rest.
I'd like him.
I can just see the rest just leaving, just going, and I just can't see them either wanting to stay or the club wanting to extend the deal. I really can't. And then we're back to like Conors having to work with a almost brand new set of players again and get them to gel again. And you're back to square one, aren't you? You're not building anything, are you?
No. Reports today, probably not very trustworthy, but we have to mention it anyway. On one of the pages on Facebook, that Rising Barnsley Talent Vimal Yoganathan is drawing strong interest from the Championship. Wrexham, Sheffield United, Charlton, Blackburn and Derby County are all keeping a close eye on the 20-year-olds. I mean, we know Connor's got a lot of faith in him and sees him as one of those players, the future of the club, you know, a young talent. I am still not convinced that if we say we just need to survive in League One and we need to keep hold of players to then build it up and build a foundation, I think that will be absolutely fine. I'm just worried that when you have 3 of these players in that engine that are all very young and can have their off days. If you look at Mark Roberts, if you look at Ditsy, if you look at Bradshaw, should we not have somebody like that in the midfield just to help these guys along? Because
absolutely,
there can be an over-reliance, can't there, on youthfulness?
Yeah, of course there can, yeah. And you don't want to burn them out. And, you know, certainly in Yoganathan's, looking at him, he's far from the finished product. I mean, he had a good loan spell at Oldham, did well there. But I know difficult when he was coming in for one game and then going out for a game, coming in for like a cup game and going back out again. But then he'd have the odd red card or so. But he's always a bit late with some of his challenges. He's always he means well, but sometimes he's just not quite up to the pace and he ends up picking up cards. But he's just not the finished article, is he? So it's difficult to sort of critique him too much because he's trying. And he's been played in a couple of different positions.
Yeah.
But we're reliant on him at 20 and far from the finished article to be in the middle of our engine room, which speaks volumes, doesn't it? Ideally, you probably wouldn't want to just play him week in, week out. You want to like ease him in and stuff. But I mean, clubs might be looking at him, but he's not. He's certainly not championship level, and he's certainly not ready. And he would understand that, and I'm sure Conor knows the same. He's not ready for. He's barely ready for like week in, week out League One football, I think.
Yeah, it's come pretty quick for him, and I'm sure that's because of the developments, player leaving, and obviously I suppose Connor's vision as well. Now you look at Bradford, who are coming to town tomorrow. In the last 6. They've lost 3, 1-2, drew 1. Away at Wigan, they lost. Away at Burton, they lost. Away at Wickham, they won, but then they lost at home to Stevenage. Obviously, in the table, the 4th, and have almost sort of cemented that their place in there. They have gone for experience. So the only change from between the Port Vale and the Rotherham match that was in the centre of midfield, Mark Roberts came in for Mal de Vignier. Conor has said he had a wound from, was it the Burton match or the whatever match it was, and every time he's heading the ball, that's opening, so he just wanted to give him some time. If he starts tomorrow,
hopefully Dujivne comes back in, doesn't he? I think that would be. I don't know if Roberts would play 2 games in space of a couple of days.
No. So if he, it'd be great if he came back in. Again, you're talking O'Keefe, Dujivne, O'Connell, Earl, Bland, Yoganathan, Phillips, Kelly, Banks, Bradshaw. That's if Ditsy wasn't available or still injured. Against a very experienced Bradford side. How do you see that one going? Barnsley at home, on a little bit of a listen, it's far from a run, but not lost in 2, kept the same team almost, which has been rare because he's been having to swap and change. How do you see this one going? They struggle a little bit. At home, we've been better than away this season.
I'm just before I come on, I was looking at some stats like the season and head-to-heads and stuff. I'm really surprised that they've only scored 52 goals, and yet they're third or fourth in the league. But their strength has been that they've conceded far less. I was surprised. I thought they'd have scored more than that. But they've only conceded 46. We've conceded 65 and scored 63. So they've not got a good record here. They've not won for a long time. I just think we need everybody to be an 8 or 9 out of 10 tomorrow to get a win. I thought we did well when we went there earlier in the season, and they battered us at parts in that game. But then we also came back and we could have won it as well. I see us probably losing by a goal, maybe 2-1. If I'm honest, because we kept a clean sheet against Port Vale, but all season we've barely done it. I just think the stars would have to align, and we're capable of doing it. And we could beat, but I just think it's good. I just think we've got a lot of the top teams coming, and I just fear we might come up short tomorrow. I'm hoping I'm proved wrong.
But that's the problem, isn't it? That now, if you're playing the teams at the bottom, they're fighting for their lives. If mathematically there's still a chance, so they're throwing everything at you. I suppose a Bradford tomorrow, looking at where they are, I know there's still a few matches to be played, but still, they've got, after tomorrow, they'll have another 3 matches, but nothing is ever safe. But they will be wanting to cement their place, or maybe look to, go third and try and get above Bolton. So unless you're playing the teams around you now where, they can't go up, they can't go down, this is where it matters, isn't it? This is the business end of the season. And it's important, I suppose, to send the fans home happy again, because we started really positive earlier this season. Conor, the players, Keeler Dunn started a storm, and then it seems to have fizzled out, not only on the pitch, but actually off the pitch as well, hasn't it? That we've had the tennis ball incidents, we've had the Facebook post about wanting, the ball to go and everything else. And I suppose it's important to finish the season on a bit of a high, to try and at least, because for the club, because it's early bird season again, but also for the fans, because you want them to come back, don't you? Somebody said to me today, for years and years, Barnsley Football Club were the best thing about the town. And now we've got a multi-million fantastic youth facility in Bay 71. The town centre's being regenerated and people are raving about it. We've got these roses, these lights. The town centre looks, and you don't recognise it from what it was 10, 15 years ago. And that's what people are talking about. They're not talking about the football. So, I mean, you can't put it all on Connor's lap, because it's, it's down to the club and the place and everything else. But it's important to get that back, to get back in people's hearts, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, and reading some of Connor's quotes that he's done pre-match, we're on 55 points. He wants to get to 60, 61, which we got last season. And I just think he's taking it one game at a time. I really do. I think he set a marker down and challenged the players to beat Rotherham and win a derby after we were poor at home to Doncaster and maybe not done so well in derbies recently. So they did that, and I think he's challenged them. I think we've got Bradford, Stevenage, and Stockport coming up. Luton as well.
Yeah, so you got so tomorrow.
Down,
yeah, so tomorrow at home against Bradford. Tuesday away at Stevenage. A week tomorrow away at Luton, and then on the Tuesday you're away at Northampton, and then you finish on Bank Holiday Monday at home against Stockport County, and then the only thing I suppose.
Look, current form, I would say you're probably not going to get much at Stevenage or Luton. Northampton are down, should be beating them. Stockport will be in the playoffs by then. Now, whether they rest players and are just kind of, that could be a winnable one. It's at home. They're not going to be they probably won't be anything riding on it for them. So certainly tomorrow and then Stevenage, you've got to get something tomorrow, haven't you? Because I can't see us. I know Stevenage are a bit in and out, but they're away form. I can't. So it'd be nice to pick up another 5 points, a few points. But I just hope they go out tomorrow and put a performance in. It'd be nice to win the game, like you say, but just put a performance in. It's the early kickoff, so it's on Sky as well. You've got to kind of just have a go. Just have a go tomorrow. Yeah. And, the last thing we want is to just be outplayed and lose it to a whimper. If we can go out and play some of the football that we can do and have a go at them, we should get a decent result, but you just never know which Barnsley's turning up, do you?
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? And that's when I think I was messaging with Adam Oxley from BBC Radio Sheffield earlier saying, I reckon if tomorrow is, a decent match, chances on both sides, Barnsley play really well, but they lose 1-0, you can accept that, can't you? Because performance is, it's how hearts and minds, that's how you win people over. 2 questions then. So first of all, which you sort of answered already, but I need a bit of a prediction for you for tomorrow for the full-time score at Oakwell. So you're thinking, I'm thinking home loss, or
we struggled to beat. Well, we didn't beat Port Vale, who were poor. We toiled a little bit against Rotherham, but then made it easy for ourselves in the end. But if we'd have played like that in that first half against anybody half decent, we'd have been probably a couple of goals down by half time. So I just fear that we'll come up against Bradford, who are still bobbing along for the playoffs. So I just think we might narrowly get beat tomorrow by a goal, maybe 2-1. But I hope I'm wrong.
And I know there are still matches to be played. I know. However, if you were to look back on this season, how would you I'm not going to say in 5 words because I never gave you any lead time, so you can have, got ChatGPT out. But how do you look back on it?
Bit flat, bit disappointing. I think we all probably thought it'd be nice to have a push for the playoffs. I think we all think that we could have had a bit of a push. Certainly, I think we all said in a podcast at the start of the season, top 10, 8th, something like that. But if we could have a run to the playoffs, it'd be great. But we've not really done anything like that, have we? We've had the odd purple patch where we've had a good run, but I think it's been overall just a bit flat and disappointing, I think. Really.
Yeah,
and I think coupled with Conors' interview the other week with Adam, the club having to come out and put some rumours to bed about the finances and stuff. I just think we're limping towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
And not really finishing on a high. It just feels like it's a bit like a pet that you've loved for years that really just needs putting down. Like the season.
Yeah, and I was talking to some pupils today about season tickets and stuff, and one of them said, "My granddad," he says, "My granddad always says it don't matter what division we're playing, and it don't matter if we play good or bad. This is our time." And I think some people go because it creates memories, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You go with your son, your daughter, your grandson, whoever.
Yeah.
And I there will be, money is obviously an issue, finances, because you have to have that money to be able to buy a season ticket. There will be people that are fed up. I get it completely. But then it is a little bit like that drug, isn't it? That you can't live without.
Oh, I know, yeah. And then and the new season will come round, and it's the hope that kills you, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know. So, although I think our expectations will be a lot lower next season after what's come out from the club, from the manager and the club, the hierarchy. But yeah, it is. I just feel it's been a little bit, just a bit flat and a bit disappointing on it. You know, it's not really got the blood racing, has it? Really?
Yeah, and that's I was going to say that. You know, when sometimes like if your laptop don't work, and then you do something, and then you take the battery out from the back, you put it back in, and you start it, and you're really hopeful. And that's sort of what we did, didn't it? We did it every year. We put a new manager in and blah blah blah. But this one was a really good manager. Well, an unknown manager, but he had love for the club. He loves this club, and that's still exuberant. You can still tell that. And I feel a little bit we've done all that. We stayed and pressed the on button. It's coming up. That's a lot faster than what it used to do, but it's still really slow. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's still just actually exactly like it was before, and that then makes me think: is that a reflection on the coaches that we've had? When we finish 10th, 11th, 12th, or you know, does that problem lie deeper? I suppose for Barnsley, if you look at the table, Wickham are above us. Now, they have played 2 matches more, but there is a 5-point gap. So if that grows any bigger, then, you know, you're cemented in 12th, and aren't you? But Wigan below us, so it's Wigan below, Wickham above. Wigan below us have also played 2 matches more. They are on 55 as well. So I suppose, you know, I would, and I know you can, but I would set myself down. I'd love us to finish 10th or 11th. Now, probably won't, but just try and get the team above you.
I know, I'm just looking at the table now. I mean, you think, you know, who would have thought Rotherham would be second from bottom?
I know.
You know, their expectations were probably the playoffs. Blackpool still could go down to League Two. Their expectations were they would have a playoff push. They ended up getting rid of Steve Bruce, and then Ian Everett's come in, and he's got a relegation fight on his hands. Peterborough are below us, you know, who've historically been up in the playoffs and going up to the championship. So it's not just, I know we've got issues, but
and don't forget, I think Huddersfield and Luton you can mention in there. I mean, I know they're above us.
Yeah. Huddersfield, for all the money they spent, they're still 4 points off in 8th off the playoffs. Probably might miss out. Luton are coming with a bit of a push now, but they're leaving it late, whereas I thought they might have maybe not walk the league, but, you know. Lincoln have been the surprise. Cardiff will look like they're going to hold on to second, but it's not just us, is it? You know, sometimes, you know, there's a lot of clubs who will probably be in the same boat as us who are going, well, it's been a crap season, hasn't it? Or what, you know, we're not going to go down, but I'd rather be where, you know, could be Blackpool or we could be Rotherham now, couldn't we?
Well, exactly. And I think sometimes you have to be happy with where you are. Yes, you might wish you'd done better, but there is some big teams. There is some, you know, like you say, there is some big teams below us that we would have expected to, you know, to be a lot nearer than maybe what they are. Ian, enjoy your day tomorrow.
Thank you. I will.
Stay quiet on the train. Put a jacket over, or you know, over that shirt.
I'll be undercover tomorrow. As the train comes through Bradford, I'll be keeping my head down.
Just go to toilet for 20 minutes, you know, at your age anyway. That's a good thing.
Well, well, a man of a certain age needs the toilet near him.
Well, like Steve says, at least your infection's cleared up, hasn't it? So listen,
enjoy. Cheers, Steve. It wasn't an STD that he put across the World Wide Web that I had an STD. Thanks, Steve. I owe you one for that.
One of our most watched episodes, I'm just saying. No, and enjoy the day tomorrow. If you are going to walk well tomorrow, you know, get behind the lads. We're coming over a minute little run of, you know, not having lost in 2, including a clean sheet. I mean, on a Friday night, what more do you want? You've been listening to the Reds Report, proud to be part of the TalkSport Network. On behalf of Ian, me, and Steve, who's probably drunk on a golf course somewhere, we look forward to seeing you next time.